Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast special edition show where I make my 2023 Major League Baseball season predictions. This is always a fun podcast to do each and every year. I love looking back at them a year later to see how I did. You pretty much know the drill by now. First I project the standings, then I do playoff predictions, then I make my awards predictions, and then do superlatives such as best rookies, most improved, most disappointing players, players facing a make-or-break year on each team, bounce back and comeback candidates, all-stars. Sometimes I like to do some other things as well. Bold predictions for each team, and then MLB futures. I might have to split this into two parts. We'll start with the standings. We'll start with the American League East. It was the best division in baseball last year. I don't know about this year. We'll see. A big reason why it was so good last year is because some unexpected things happened in this division. My pick to win this division, I'm going to go with the Toronto Blue Jays, 95-67. I have their record at. I think Toronto is poised to have a good season. They have a great offense. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is going to have a big year. Matt Chapman should have a bounce-back season. This team's just absolutely loaded. Alejandro Kirk should be better. George Springer, their pitching's really good. Led by Alek Manoah at the top, and they have some veterans in there like Kevin Gossman and Jose Barrios. And then their bullpen is pretty solid. With their closer, Jordan Romano, leading the way. In second place with a record of 93-69, I have the New York Yankees. To me, it was between them and Toronto for the division because the Yankees have some injury issues. I put Toronto ahead of them by a couple of games. Could be wrong here. This could be a division I get wrong, obviously. So the Yankees, Aaron Judge coming off that historic year. Last season, they got swept by the Astros in the LCS. Meanwhile, Toronto had just talked about they lost against the Mariners. I believe that was a 3-game series in the wild card. So we talked about Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton's still there, Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu. They're deep in their infield. I think that there's a chance they trade an infielder, but they could use some help at left field. Their starting pitching is very thin right now because of the injuries. Garrett Cole leads the way. Carlos Rodon picked up in the offseason. He's hurt. Frankie Montas might not pitch this season. Luis Severino is out to start the season. And then you have Nestor Cortez, who's coming off a career year. And then you have Domingo Germán's probably going to be like that sixth starter. That's going to be in the rotation most of the season. And their bullpen made some changes. Chad Green's gone. Clay Holmes is back. Aroldis Chapman, who was terrible last year, he's gone. Maybe they acquire somebody for the pen. We'll see about that. Number 3 in this division with a record of 87-75, I have the Tampa Bay Rays. This Rays team is interesting. They're a team that I think may take a step back. They still have Wander Franco, who's an absolute stud. A lot of youth in their lineup. I mean, the Rays always seem to get it right. Randy Arozarena is still there. They expect him to be better. Rotation, Shea McClanahan leads the way at the top. Tyler Glasnow out to start the season with an oblique strain. Their bullpen's okay. They have a closer by committee rule. I think Pete Fairbanks will get the majority of those save situations. In fourth place, I have with a record of 83-79, the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles overachieved the year ago. I still think they're going to be good. A lot of people are just going to be like, screw them, they're bad. They were good last year. That was a fluke because the Red Sox were bad, yada, yada. Well, guess what? The Orioles were not bad last year. They played well against the Yankees. They played well against the Blue Jays. The team that, if I'm not mistaken, played really well against the Orioles last year is the Rays, who I don't think are as good this year. But the Orioles are better because they're going to have Adley Rutschman the whole season, and Gunnar Henderson's going to eventually be up for them. Cedric Mullins could have a bounce back year. I like Ryan Mountcastle and Anthony Santander. So their lineup's going to be better. They brought in some veterans in their rotation, Kyle Gibson and Cole Irvin. Grayson Rodriguez had a bad spring training, but hopefully he'll be in the big leagues sooner rather than later. I'm a big fan of their closer, Felix Bautista, who I think could have a coming out party this year and could be in play for the Rivera Award at the end of the year. And then in the cellar, I have with 75-87 record the Boston Red Sox. I just don't like this Red Sox team at all. Literally bad decision after bad decision. Like, you forget they won championships in the past several years. So Rafael Devers, they extended. That was the best thing they did this offseason. And they have a lot of, journeymen and veterans that are on other teams, like Justin Turner. They have a lot of the ex-Dodgers, Kike Hernandez, Justin Turner, Adam Duvall's on their team. They have a lot of trade candidates in this lineup. Alex Verdugo, they're waiting for him to bring it together. The rotation, Chris Sale, he hasn't been good in 5 years. Corey Kluber's bounced around the last several years. Nick Pivetta was awful last year. But a lot of their starters are on the injured list to start the season. And Kenley Jansen they brought in, he's not good anymore either. Like, this team's a mess. And I think 75 wins for this team is being kind. Maybe I'm just big on Devers. And maybe the rest of the division is just pretty deep to the point where, I could see, the Red Sox taking advantage of nights where the Yankees are sitting Aaron Judge and the Blue Jays are sitting Vlad Jr. and things like that. I think Boston will have a higher win total than a typical last-place team. So they're easily the best last-place team in baseball. The AL Central, I have winning the division with the record of 97-65. The Cleveland Guardians. I love this Guardians team. Love it. They don't really have much holes in their lineup, maybe other than center field, which I think they could upgrade at the deadline, or even at catcher. When they have prospects coming up too, the catcher Bo Naylor, I think, could be their catcher by the end of the year. Stephen Kwan, career year last year. Jose Ramirez is an AL MVP candidate. I love Josh Bell. He was a great pickup. Oscar Gonzalez showed some flashes in the playoffs last year. Their rotation's the best, arguably, in all of baseball. I love Shane Bieber, Kyle Quantrill, Adam Savali. Tristan McKenzie's out the first 2 months of the season. That's a big blow for them, though. And even Zach Plesac's a really good number 5 starter. And they have arguably the best closer in the game right now in Emmanuel Clase, who won the Rivera Award last year. In second place in this division, I have the record of 87-75, the Chicago White Sox. I think this team wants to have a better year than last year. They have a new manager. Usually that type of team gets a bump. They need guys like Luis Robert, Jan Moncada, and Eloy Jimenez to stay healthy and have better seasons. They get Andrew Benintendi from the Yankees in the offseason. Tim Anderson's a good leadoff hitter, shortstop. Yasmani Grandal's another one that I think needs to have a bounce-back season. Andrew Vaughn, really good first baseman, but I think that they're going to miss the veteran leadership of Jose Abreu. The rotation is really, really deep, led by Dylan Cease, who was a Cy Young candidate last year. Their bullpen is shaky. Even Liam Hendricks, who had the was diagnosed with leukemia in the offseason. I think they need him back if they want to make a push for the postseason this year. Coming in third in this division, I have the record of 85-77, the Minnesota Twins. This Twins team, I think, could go in either direction. It was big that they got Carlos Correa back. Joey Gallo, maybe a change of scenery out of 2 big markets in LA and New York last year. Max Kepler looking for a bounce back here. Byron Buxton, they need to stay healthy. And they have a weak lineup after the rest of the top 4, so they really need some upgrades at the trade deadline. Their rotation's actually really good. Pablo Lopez they get from the Marlins. Sonny Gray, I think, is a good fit in that ballpark. I like Joe Ryan. And Bailey Ober, on this team doesn't even have a rotation spot. I like Joe Ryan. I like Tyler Mahle. For the Twins, I do in that big ballpark. It's at a small Cincinnati, and Kenta Maeda. That's a really good rotation, and the bullpen's okay. Jorge Lopez is going to be their closer. In fourth place with a record of 72-90, the Detroit Tigers. I think the Tigers will be a little bit better this year. Javier Baez should have a better year. Spencer Torkelson, a whole year in the big league. Same with Riley Green. Jonathan Scope, maybe a trade candidate. Miguel Cabrera, he's just old at this point. This is his last season. The rotation, Eduardo Rodriguez back. A lot of these guys are coming back from injury. Matt Boyd, Spencer Turnbull. Who knows if we'll see Casey Mize this season. And their bullpen is just no good. And in the fifth spot in the AL Central with a record of 67-95, I have the Kansas City Royals. This team's just bad. Salvador Perez still there, amazingly enough. Bobby Witt Jr. is exciting. Franmil Reyes comes over from Cleveland. Jackie Bradley Jr. comes over from Boston. They have a new manager in Matt Quatraro. So maybe they get a bump from that. Who knows? Usually new managers, sometimes teams get a bump. They have some promising young pitching. Zach Greinke, obviously, still there, the veteran. But Brad Keller, Brady Singer. We'll see about Daniel Lynch. And then the bullpen just not very good. Aroldis Chapman's on this team now. AL West, I have winning the division at 96-66, the Houston Astros, of course. No Justin Verlander and no Jose Altuve for the first couple of weeks, no problem. I think that they can survive without Altuve for the first part of the season, and in the second half they rally. Jose Abreu is a huge pickup for them. Yordan Alvarez, full season. Alex Bregman's really good. Jeremy Pena broke out in the playoffs last year. And I don't think they're going to miss Verlander. Their pitching is so deep. They proved it last year in the playoffs. Sweeping the Yankees, sweeping the Mariners in the round before that, and then ending the Phillies run in 6. So I think if the Astros proved something last year that they could potentially win it all again without Justin Verlander. And Lance McCullers Jr. out to start the season, which is a loss if one of the young guys don't step up. But I believe in this Astros rotation a lot. And I picked against them in this division a couple of years in a row. So I had to give them the benefit of the doubt since they won the World Series. And even though they lost Verlander, I think their pitching outside of him had proven me wrong this past postseason. And then their bullpen's really good. Ryan Presley's a really, really good closer. And then they extended Rafael Montero, who was excellent for them in the playoffs last year and at the end of the regular season. Coming in second in this division, I have with the record of 94-68, the Seattle Mariners. I love this Mariners team. I thought about picking them to win the West, but I'm like, I can't go against the team that just won the World Series, even though they lost Verlander. And they really, like I said, they proved me wrong big time in the playoffs last year. Mariners, great team. I love Julio Rodriguez. I think they stole Teoscar Hernandez from Toronto. Toronto's going to regret that one, I think. Eugenio Suarez, I think, is going to have a good season. They have some guys that I like. Cal Riley, Ty France really fit this team well. Jared Kelenic, maybe breakout season for him finally. Rotation's really deep. Luis Castillo, Robbie Wright, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Marco Gonzalez. Like, that is absolutely of a loaded rotation. And Paul Sewald is slated to be their closer. In third in this division, I have the record of 87-75. The Texas Rangers. Yes. Texas. I actually really like this Texas team a lot. I think that they have a great shot at getting to the postseason with Bruce Bochy at the helm. Really good lineup. Josh Jung, I think, is going to be a good spark for them. Nate Lau, breakout year last year. Corey Seager and Marcus Semien at the top of the lineup. Rotation's really deep. Jacob deGrom, Nate Eovaldi, Martin Perez, John Gray, and Andrew Heaney. That's a great 5-sum of a rotation. And I thought Perez had a career year last year. So good on Texas for going out and getting not one but two above average arms at the top of that rotation in deGrom and Eovaldi. And then Texas does have a pretty nice bullpen as well. Coming in fourth in this division, I have with the record of 75-87, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I'm not picking this team to do dog shit until they prove it to me. They still have holes in their lineup and holes in their rotation. Listen, I love Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, but the Angels are really just them. Still. They just have to prove me, the rest of this team has to prove me wrong. Like, Taylor Ward had a nice year. Anthony Rendon hasn't been good since he came over to the Angels. Hunter Renfroe bounces around all the time. Brandon Drury, career year last year. Logan O'Hoppe, I think, could be a help behind the plate, and I think there's a chance they win that trade with the Phillies. Gio Urshela, I think, is an overrated player. You know how I felt about him on the Yankees outside of that first year. And the rotation outside of Ohtani, I mean, Tyler Anderson, career year at the Dodgers. He's going to be going against the Astros and the Mariners a lot, so I don't expect him to be as good as he was with the Dodgers. Patrick Sandoval's hit or miss. Detmers could be better. Suarez, and then their bullpen I don't think is very good either. And in the cellar in this division with the record of 58-104, the Oakland Athletics. This team's just hot garbage. They really don't have that much above average talent in their lineup. Shea Langoliers, I really like the young catcher. And they have a lot of guys who I think are going to get called up as the season goes on. As maybe they'll get their fan base a little excited. There's going to be a lot of rumors about this team moving. So I think it's going to be another long year in Oakland. And their rotation, they have some guys like Kaprelian, former Yankee farmhand. Same with J.P. Sears. Ken Waldichuk, I feel like, was a Yankee too. These are all like ex-Yankees in their rotation. Kaprelian came in the Sonny Gray deal in 2017, and Sears and Waldichuk came in on the Montas deal this past year. So at least Oakland could point to the Montas trade and said, hey, we won that trade. And then maybe they trade some relievers at the deadline. Who knows? All right, the National League. We'll start with the East. Winning this division, I have with the record of 104 and 58, the Atlanta Braves. I love this Braves team. They're loaded. Acuna, Riley, career year last year. Matt Olson. We'll see about Marcell Ozuna. Ozzie Albies back from injury. Michael Harris was the Rookie of the Year last year. Sean Murphy they get from Oakland. But yeah, this is a loaded lineup. I mean, shortstop could be upgraded. We'll see about that, and same with left field. But this is a monster team with a monster lineup. Their rotation's amazing. So Kyle Wright and Michael Soroka are going to start the year on the injured list, which would open up Dylan Dodd being in the rotation. Same with the youngster Jared Schuster. Spencer Strider was the Rookie of the Year runner-up. Max Fried's a stud. And Charlie Morton's a veteran who has been there and done that. I love this Braves team. And then their bullpen is pretty stacked too. And then they get Raciel Iglesias to be their closer. Coming in second in this division, I have the record of 97-65, the New York Mets. If the Mets were in any other division, I'd pick them to win it. That's how good I believe the Braves are. I mean, you could argue the National League West, too. I think the Mets are better than every American League team, let alone American League East or West. And they're better than every team in the Central. And you could argue the West, maybe except, you can make a case the West too, depending on how you feel about the Pods and the Dodgers. But I really like this Mets team. They bring back Brandon Nimmo, Peter Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Marte back from injury. Jeff McNeil won the batting title. Daniel Vogelbach, sneaky good DH. And then Omar Narvaez comes in as a free agent catcher. But I think ultimately that'll be Francisco Alvarez's job down the road. Their rotation is absolutely stacked with Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander leading the way. Kodai Senga comes over in free agency too. Jose Quintana was supposed to be in the rotation for the start of the year, but he had a rib injury. But he's going to be out until after the All-Star break, so David Peterson gets his spot in the rotation. Edwin Diaz, obviously, is going to miss the season. We talked about that injury several times on the podcast. And now David Robertson's going to be their closer for the time being. I can see them getting a reliever at the deadline, too. Coming in third in this division, I have the record of 86 and 76, the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies, this is going to be an interesting regular season for the Phils. A lot of unknowns. Bryce Harper, we don't know when he's coming back. Rhys Hoskins out for the season, torn ACL. That's brutal. Trey Turner, that pickup is humongous. Kyle Schwarber, still on the team. JT Realmuto is awesome. Nick Castellanos is going to be in right field until Harper comes back. Bryson Stott and Alec Boehm, I think, are two guys that have to perform better. They lose Andrew Painter and Ranger Suarez to injuries. So in the rotation is going to be Matt Strom and Bailey Falter. So their rotation's weaker now outside of Nolan Wheeler than it was at the start of the postseason last year. So those are two monster injuries. Painter, obviously, a rookie that the Phillies fans were excited about in spring training, and Suarez was a big part of their pennant run last year. And then their bullpen, Seranthony Dominguez is supposed to be their closer. Jose Alvarado got some big outs for them in the playoffs last year. Coming in fourth in this division, I have with the record of 76 and 86, the Miami Marlins. I think the Marlins could be a little bit better than people think. They pick up Luis Arraez, who won the batting title last year in the American League, in that trade with the Twins for Pablo Lopez. Jorge Soler's on this team now, Jazz Chisholm. So their lineup's a little bit better than it used to be. Their rotation's really good. Sandy Alcantara won the Cy Young last year. Jesus Luzardo pitched well for them last year. Johnny Cueto, a veteran they brought in. And they have some other young guys that they like as well. And then their bullpen is kind of mediocre. Their closer is supposed to be Dylan Floro, the veteran. And coming in last in this division, 60 and 102, the Nationals of Washington, D.C. They're atrocious. So at least they have Keibert Ruiz and C.J. Abrams to be excited about, and some of these other prospects that they got in the Soto deal and some of these other trades that they made in the past. Victor Robles, he was supposed to be a big prospect. He hasn't really panned out. And they picked up a lot of journeyman veterans like Dom Smith and Jeimer Candelario and Corey Dickerson, guys like that, Lane Thomas. And then the rotation, I like Mackenzie Gore. I think he's going to be a keeper for them in that rotation. Same with Josiah Gray, who they got in that Dodger trade with Trey Turner and Scherzer going to L.A. Trevor Williams is a veteran. Corbin was the worst pitcher in baseball last year. And then the relievers, they're just going to be auditioning for trades all year. All right, the National League Central, I have winning the division with the record of 98 and 64, the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals, I like. They're a really good offensive team, especially the guys that are manning the corner infield spots, and Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. They get Wilson Contreras from the Cubs. Jordan Walker is going to be on this team on opening day. Lars Nootbaar was a star on the Japan World Baseball Classic Championship team. Tommy Edmonds supposed to be their shortstop. Tyler O'Neill they like too. And what happens with Dylan Carlson and O'Neill with like a platoon situation with Walker making the team? then Nolan Gorman's a good young player that they like too. Their rotation is stacked. So Adam Wainwright's going to start the year on the injured list. Jack Flaherty, he's someone that they need to step up. Miles Mikolas will be starting opening day. Jordan Montgomery, they got in that Yankees trade last year. He was brilliant for them. And then Steven Matz they got in the offseason, if I'm not mistaken. Or did they get him last year? I don't remember. Coming in, never mind, the bullpen. They have one of the best closers in baseball, by the way, in Ryan Helsley. He's excellent. So I got to give him a shout out. And then Giovanni Gallegos struggled a little bit in the WBC, but otherwise he's pretty good. Coming in second in this division with a record of 92-70, I have the Milwaukee Brewers. I like this Brewers team. I think they're poised for a bounce-back season. Their offense, I think, has a chance to be better. I like William Contreras. He was a sneaky good pickup for them at catcher. Garrett Mitchell's a good young player. They have some youth in their infield. Willie Adames, Luis Urias, and Bryce Terang. Rowdy Tellez career last year. We'll see about that. Brian Anderson they get from the Marlins. Christian Yelich hasn't been good in years. Their rotation's awesome, led by Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, and then two good guys behind him, and Eric Lauer and Freddie Peralta. And then Aaron Ashby out until May with the shoulder injury. Wade Miley's a veteran that's in that rotation now. And they have one of the best closers in the game in Devin Williams as well. Coming in third in this division, I have, with a record of 77-85, the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs, I think, could be this year's Orioles, but I wouldn't be shocked if their record gets worse because I think they're going to potentially be a seller again at the deadline. But the Orioles sold at the deadline last year and were still decent. I think that Rutschman had a lot to do with that, and some guys had careers on that team. So the Cubs brought in some veterans in their lineup to stabilize things. Cody Bellinger, Trey Mancini. Will those guys get traded? We'll see. Eric Hosmer, too. And then, obviously, Ian Happ's still there. Dansby Swanson was their big start, free agent pickup. Nico Horner just got extended. Seiya Suzuki hurt. He'll be back soon. Rotation, Kyle Hendricks, because I missed the start of the season, so that opens the door for Hayden Wisniewski, who I think is going to be in the rotation pretty much the whole season. I like him a lot. He's a really good young pitcher that they got from the Yankees for that reliever, Scott Efros, who I think got Tommy John surgery. And also they have veterans in Marcus Stroman and Jamison Taillon. Taillon was signed to a 4-year deal. Justin Steele's a good young pitcher I like in this rotation too. And in the Cubs, they have some vets in their pen who I think could eventually be traded, like Michael Fulmer and Brad Boxberger. Coming in fourth in this division, I have the record of 64-98, the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm probably going to be wrong about them not losing 100 games. Maybe it's because I think their young talent is better than given credit for. And they have Andrew McCutchen back, who I think could be like a veteran leader on this team and help the young guys out. I love Cabrian Ace and O'Neal Cruz. They're going to be the left side of that Pirates infield for years to come. Brian Reynolds is still there. Jai-Man Choi they got in the trade. The rotation isn't that terrible. Mitch Keller improved last year. Ronci Contreras they got from the Yankees in, I don't remember if it was the Holmes deal or the Taillon deal, but they stole him from them. Two vets in Rich Hill and Vince Velasquez. JT Brubaker, injured list with forearm discomfort and right elbow discomfort. And then their relievers, I could see them trying to trade as well, especially David Bednar. And in the cellar in this division, I have the record of 59-103, the Cincinnati Reds. This team's not good. Joey Votto starting the year on the injured list, as he's coming back from left shoulder surgery. Some young guys I like in this lineup: Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson, Spencer Strier. Maybe they call some other guys up. Will Myers, I think, can rejuvenate himself and could lead to a trade. The rotation isn't that terrible. I like Hunter Green. I think he could improve this year. Nick Lodolo I like. Luis Sessa they got from the Yankees a few years ago. Maybe they shop him at the deadline if he exceeds expectations. And then they have a good young closer in Alexis Diaz. I don't know if they're going to trade him or not. I mean, I killed the Cubs for trading Scott Effross last year, but that turned out to be good because he's out for this season for the Yankees, and Hayden Wesneski's turned into a stud. So maybe they can go that route with him and get something for him. But we'll see. The National League West. I have winning this division with a record of 102-60. The San Diego Padres. That's right. I have the Padres winning the NL West this year, believe it or not. And they should be the favorites, I think. I really do. They go and get Xander Bogaerts. They have Juan Soto the whole year. Manny Machado was an MVP finalist last year. They're getting Fernando Tatis Jr. back eventually. Trent Grisham, solid center fielder. They get Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz as a DH platoon. Jake Cronenworth isn't bad. This offense is loaded. And then the rotation, Joe Musgrove, though, out with the fractured left big toe. And then they got Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Michael Wacha comes in. Nick Martinez was good for them last year. And then they get Seth Lugo from the Mets. Like, their pitching staff is deep. They have a great closer in Josh Hader. And their setup guy, Robert Suarez, was excellent for them in the postseason last year. Coming in second in this division, I have the record of 95-67, the Los Angeles Dodgers. This Dodgers team is still very good. Eat my crow if they win the division. Same with the Yankees. If the Yankees or the Dodgers win their respective divisions, eat my crow because I doubted them before the season. And those were obviously two of the best four teams in baseball last season for most of the year until they both flamed out in the playoffs. And then Dodgers loaded lineup still. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Well, I should say loaded from a top-heavy standpoint. Will Smith, Max Muncy, I think will be better. JD Martinez, I think will have a good season on this Dodgers team. Gavin Lux, season-ending knee injury, brutal. So Miguel Rojas is now the shortstop. Miguel Vargas, they're expecting big things from him. Same with James Outman, the center fielder. Didn't they sign Jason Hayward in the offseason and they were all excited about him? So he'll be on the opening day roster. So that's interesting. David Peralta's a veteran in there now. Rotation, Clayton Kershaw is still there. But Julio Urias is going to be the opening day starter. Dustin May coming back from Tommy John. Noah Syndergaard, first full season back from Tommy John after helping the Phillies make the World Series last year. But Tyler Anderson, Andrew Heaney, both gone. I think they'll be okay without them. They really do, because it's the Dodgers. Their bullpen's kind of weak, though. They're trying to try out other people for their closer role. The leader in the clubhouse for that is Evan Phillips. Coming in third in this division, I have the record of 79-83 to San Francisco Giants. I just don't like this Giants team at all. Their offense stinks. They lost out on Aaron Judge and Carlos Correa. Nearly had them both. They thought they had Aaron Judge because John Heyman said arson Judge, and everyone lost their freaking minds. And then he didn't or he walked it back and was like, yeah, sorry. No one confirmed that. Jumped the gun, sorry. And then the next morning he's back in pinstripes. So, yeah. That was the great what if of the Giants offseason. That, and then if Correa passed his physical. And nope, now they're stuck in mediocrity yet again. They get Mitch Haniger, who's hurt. And then Austin Slater is also hurt. Jock Peterson's still on the team. Michael Conforto they get in free agency. Brandon Crawford's still there. Mike Yastrzemski, nice center fielder. They're waiting for Joey Bart to break out. The rotation's good. I'll give him that. Logan Webb, awesome pitcher. Alex Cobb, I think, is going to have a good year. I like Ross Stripling, especially in that ballpark. Sean Manaea could end up getting traded because their rotation's really deep. And I think he can get them something. And Jacob Junis is in the mix for this rotation, but I hate Jacob Junis. I just don't think he's any good at pitching. I mean, he couldn't really pitch in a big ballpark in Kansas City. I don't know how he would do in San Francisco. And then their bullpen isn't bad. They have the two Rogers, Taylor and Tyler. And then they have Camilo Doval as their closer, who I like. In fourth place in this division, I have the record of 75-87, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I was tempted to pick the Diamondbacks to finish ahead of the Giants, but I couldn't get there because the Giants have better pitching than the D-backs, and I care about that. Corbin Carroll, really exciting young player who I'm looking forward to watching this year. Christian Walker had a great year last year. We'll see if Ketel Marte will be better. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., big pickup for them. Same with Gabriel Moreno. As the Blue Jays and the D-backs make that fun trade in the offseason. They get Evan Longoria in the offseason. Alec Thomas, we'll see how he plays this season. Their rotation, I like Zach Gallen at the top. He's excellent. Madison Bumgarner's still there, amazingly enough. He's been one of the bigger free agent flops in recent years. Ryan Nelson, good young prospect at the back end of their rotation. And they have a good bullpen. Joe Mantiply, Mark Melanson. And in the cellar in this division, I have at the record of 64-98, the Colorado Rockies. Their lineup isn't truly awful, but the bottom half is. Jurickson Profar they pick up in the offseason. Chris Bryant should be better. I like Ryan McMahon. He's probably going to be at second base most of the year because Brendan Rodgers might miss the whole season. Charlie Blackmon's still there. CJ Crone, I always said was a good fit for Coors Field. And then their rotation, they have some shiny toys in that rotation, but they are an awful performing rotation. Herman Marquez, Kyle Freeland never live up to potential. Austin Gomber was the quote-unquote prize in the Nolan Arenado trade. Jose Urena's bounced around. And then Ryan Felton, they expect big things from too. But they have a good closer in Daniel Bard. I'll give them that. Alrighty, postseason. So, my seedings, I have the 1 seed, the Guardians, the 2 seed, the Astros. I have those two teams with byes. My 3 seed is the Blue Jays. My 4 seed is the Mariners. The 5 seed, I have the Yankees. And the 6 seed, the Rangers. So, wild card round. So, the Texas Rangers and the Toronto Blue Jays. Rangers, obviously, fun story. I always like to pick a team that wasn't good the previous year and pick them to make the playoffs. The Rangers fit that bill. They have the assets to go and make a trade. They have an upgrade at manager with Bruce Bochy. But the Blue Jays are just better than the Rangers, hands down. They have better rotation, better lineup. I have them in 2 over the Rangers. And then the American League, I have a loaded series here. The 5 seed Yankees against the 4 seed Mariners. Definitely an outstanding series. You have Aaron Judge. You have Giancarlo Stanton, Julio Rodriguez. This is a great series. Great pitching on both sides, too. But for this, I'm going to go Yankees in 3. This is where I have a lower seed pulling off the upset here in the wild card round. And in the National League, I have getting the byes. I have the 1 seed being the Braves and the 2 seed the Padres. My 3 seed I have the Cardinals. The 4 seed I have the Mets. The 5 seed I have the Dodgers. And the 6 seed I have the Milwaukee Brewers. So an NL Central matchup in the wild card. I have 6-seed Brewers against the 3-seed Cardinals. Great series. Good division rival. They always like to beat up on each other in the regular season. Star power with Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. And then the Brewers used to have a star in Christian Yelich, but he fell off the face of the earth. But the Brewers have star pitching in Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff and the closer Devin Williams. But the star power of Arenado and Goldschmidt will be too much. They'll be the best players in the series. I'm going to say Cardinals in 3. And 5-seed Dodgers against the 4-seed Mets. This is the best series of the wild card round, period. All these series, as I have projected, are great, especially this Dodgers-Mets series. You have you have Verlander and Scherzer, right? So he's saying DeGrom. That is going to be so hard to, get used to it, DeGrom not being on the Mets anymore. And then on the Dodgers side, you have Kershaw and Urias, and then you have both lineups and a bunch of stars, and Pete Alonso, Mookie Betts, and all the star power on both sides. But the presence of Verlander and Scherzer, I think, will intimidate the Dodgers, especially in a potential elimination game. So I'm going to go Mets in 3 over the Dodgers. All right, the American League Division Series. I have 5-seed Yankees against the 1-seed Guardians rematch from last year. Guardians will have home field in this series, which I think will matter. Those fans will be ruckus. I think their pitching is better than New York's pitching. The Yankees nearly lost the Guardians series last year, but they pulled their way through and came back from 2-1 down. But they don't have home field advantage this time. The Guardians do. I know the Yankees won an elimination game in Cleveland last year. I know that. But I think the Guardians are better this year. I think the Yankees are worse. So I'm going to go Guardians in 5 over the Yankees and Aaron Judge. And then there's going to be a lot of speculation about Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman yet again after the season ends in predictable disappointment in this Yankees era with Judge and Boone and Stanton and everybody that they have now, as Cleveland's pitching will rue the day. All right, this is a fun series too. 3-seed Toronto Blue Jays, 2-seed Houston Astros. I think that George Springer might have a big chip on his shoulder going up against his former teams. That'd be a fun subplot there. 2 loaded lineups. 2 really good pitching staffs. But I think Houston gets the edge here because of their pitching. They're deeper in their pen. I'm going to go Astros in 4 over the Blue Jays, as the Blue Jays will sit home and wonder if they might need to make some changes as well. National League Division Series, 4-seed New York Mets, 1-seed Atlanta Braves. So really fun series here between these two division rivals. I know home field really shouldn't matter because obviously the Braves got swept by Philly last year. Or did they lose in 4? I don't remember. I think they lost in 4, and then they did win a game in Philly, and then Philly won in 4. But they did lose 2 games in Atlanta against Philly last year. But the Braves are better this year. They'll be healthier. Maybe the Met guys get tired. And their offense isn't as good as the Braves. So I'm going to say Braves in 5 over the Mets. And the Mets season ends in predictable disappointment too. This is a fun one. 3-seed St. Louis Cardinals, 2-seed San Diego Padres. This is a rematch of the wild card series in the COVID year. A lot of fun, 2 good lineups, a lot of stars. Goldschmidt, Arenado, Soto, Tatis, Machado, and Bogarts. And even the pitching side, too, with Flaherty and even Wainwright and Snell and Darvish and Musgrove. So, a lot of sexy names. Even the closers with Helsley and Hader, and even the setup guys in Gallegos and Suarez. So this is a really fun series. But I think the Padres are deeper all around, so I'm going to go with the Padres in 4 over the Cardinals. The ALCS, 2-seed Houston Astros, 1-seed Cleveland Guardians. I think this would be a great matchup. But I do think that Guardians home field is going to matter. I think the Guardians lineup is better than it's been in years past. I know the Astros have the experience from last year, but are we sure that they won't miss Justin Verlander at some point? Are we sure about that? His veteran leadership in a road environment, which they had in Philadelphia in the World Series, which they're not going to have in Ruckus Cleveland and the ALCS. The Cubs almost lost the World Series, but they had the veteran leadership and everything to overcome it. And I know that they still have Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman, and they've been in a lot of big games, especially on the road in the postseason. But I think this is Cleveland's time to shine. I think Guardians in 7 over the Astros. So I have a surprise representative to some in the World Series coming from the American League. And then the NLCS. I have 2-seed San Diego Padres against the 1-seed Atlanta Braves. This would be another really, really fun series. 2 really loaded teams with star power on each side. I think this also goes to distance. And I think home field is going to matter here. And I think you may see sneaky things like Max Fried coming out of the bullpen and stuff like that. And I could see the Padres kind of matching it with Musgrove and Darvish too. But I just think Atlanta's better. So I'm going to say Braves in 7 over the Padres in the NLCS. And in the World Series, I have your American League 1-seed Cleveland Guardians and the National League 1-seed Atlanta Braves. I think this would be a fun series. A lot of good pitching, good hitting, good bullpens, great managers in Brian Snitker and Terry Francona. And I know Fox won't enjoy this. I think Fox rather sees Padres Astros because of all the star power. And I think ratings would be better because of Houston. And I think they would have loved to see the Mets in there. They'd love to see the Yankees in there. They'd love to see the Cardinals in there. But Guardians Braves is a ratings nightmare, but I think the baseball diehards would love to see this. I do think the Cleveland Guardians dream season here comes to an end against who I feel is the best team in baseball, the Atlanta Braves. So I'm going to go with the Braves in 6 over the Guardians and my World Series MVP. Let's go with Austin Riley. Why not? He's a stud, and he really broke out last year, and I think he's somebody that will embrace the postseason stage. Alrighty, awards for each league. We'll start with the American League. I have winning the American League MVP, Jose Ramirez. I love Jose Ramirez. He's really come along after some rough moments that he had over the last several years, and really has put this Guardians franchise on his back. And I think he'll lead the Guardians to the best record in the American League and take advantage of a weak AL Central. And in the runner-up, I'm going to say Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Blue Jays, I have winning the division, and I think Guerrero will come close to a Triple Crown season, but I don't know if he'll get to the home run total that Aaron Judge had last year. The Cy Young Award, I'm going with Alek Manoah of the Blue Jays. I love Alek Manoah. He had a breakout year last year, made the All-Star team, and I think he is somebody that can carry a pitching staff. And my runner-up, I'm going to say Shane Bieber of the Guardians, because I think that Bieber is going to stay healthy, and I think that he's trying to pitch for a big payday as well down the road. Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Anthony Volpe of the Yankees. I probably would have picked somebody else had Volpe not made the opening day roster, but here he is, and he deserved to make the opening day roster. He's going to be their shortstop. I think he's going to get the fan base excited. And when I did the shortstop rankings, I had no idea that Volpe was going to make the team. I thought it was going to be Oswald Peraza, but I was wrong. But hey, sometimes it's nice to be wrong about something. Runner-up and go with Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles. Really good player. And I think that he'll continue the youth movement that the Orioles have going right now and keep them respectable. Manager of the Year, Bruce Bochy. I love Bruce Bochy. I think this is the best managerial hiring of the offseason. And he will have them in contention all year. I have them making the postseason. And Bochy will get the credit. Runner-up, I'm going to go with John Schneider of the Blue Jays. Winning a good American League East after having a disappointing regular season and even postseason last year with them losing to the Mariners and losing the AL East to the Yankees last year. So I'm going to say John Schneider for manager of the year. Comeback player of the year, I'm going to go with Matt Chapman. I think his bounce back is one of the few reasons why I like Toronto over the Yankees in the AL East. And I wouldn't be shocked to get Chapman hits 30-plus home runs again. And runner-up, Yoan Moncada of the White Sox. I think that he could have a big season and put it together for Chicago. The Mariano Rivera Award, I'm going to go with Emmanuel Clase. I think he'll get the most save opportunities with the Guardians, and I think that he'll run away with this award. And runner-up and go with Brian Presley. He's a stud in that Astros bullpen. And we'll have a good ERA as well. National League Awards. MVP, I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado. Nolan Arenado's a stud. Was in play last year, but his teammate Paul Goldschmidt won it. He'll come close to 40 home runs. Runner-up, Juan Soto of the Padres. Was tempted to pick Juan Soto to win it. But I'm like, I'm just going to go with a safer bet, and that's Arenado. Soto, I think, will be good in year one, or I should say year two with the Padres, but his first full season. Because sometimes it takes a while for players, especially star players, to adjust to a new team. We see it in every sport. We saw it with Soto last year. We saw it with Giancarlo Stanton when he came over to the Yankees, but he got going later on in his first year there. We saw it in hockey with Patrick Kane, with the Rangers a little bit. We've seen it. Maybe we'll see it with Russell Wilson eventually with Denver. But we've seen it in sports, especially with stars, and I think we'll see it with Soto here. Cy Young, go with Max Fried. That guy's a horse. And he'll have a fantastic year, I think. And runner-up, Corbin Burns. I think he'll be closer to the guy from 2 years ago than the guy from last year. Rookie of the year, I'm going to go with Francisco Alvarez. So, yes, I have two New York rookies winning Rookies of the Year. Alvarez, I think, will eventually be the starting catcher on the Mets and give that team some excitement offensively outside of Peter Alonso. And the runner-up, I'm going to go with Corbin Carroll, the Diamondbacks. Good young player. Usually the guy that's the favorite in the preseason doesn't always win it. I don't think Michael Harris was the preseason favorite for the NL Rookie of the Year last year. I know Julio Rodriguez was one of the favorites in the American League last year and won it, but I do think Corbin Carroll will be good on the D-backs. Manager of the year, I'm going to go with Bob Melvin. Winning a good NL West division over the Dodgers. I think he'll get credit for it. Similar to why I think that John Schneider will be runner-up in the American League. And runner-up, I'm going to go Craig Counsell of the Brewers. I think that team has a bounce-back year. And I think Counsell is a manager that gets disrespected when we talk about good managers, because I think he's done an outstanding job as their manager since he's been there. Comeback player of the year, I'm going to go with Dustin May of the Dodgers. I really think he's in for a big comeback season and will help the Dodgers replace some key losses in their rotation. Runner-up, and go with Chris Bryant of the Rockies. He'll take advantage of Coors Field and MASH. The Trevor Hoffman Award, I'm going to go with Devin Williams of the Brewers. I think he'll get a lot of save opportunities, and they'll just be in a lot of close games. And then runner-up and go Josh Hader of the Padres. And I think he'll be fully adjusted in a full season in San Diego as well. All right, so that concludes part 1 of the 2023 MLB prediction show. Next up will be the superlatives, all-stars, bold predictions, and more. Hope you guys enjoyed part 1 and looking forward to part 2.